Greetings, everyone. I can imagine it's warm enough for you all. Okay, could be worse, much worse. You could be living in marble bar. So, all right, so when we look at, say, the meditation practice over the course of your lifetime, so some of you have been practicing for many, many years, so the results are quite obvious to the effects that you actually get with the practice over the years, and even over 30 days, 4 weeks, people can see a change in their character and a change in their family members. So so why is meditation so effective? You've got a very, very simple technique, but essentially goes right through the person's through the personality, at least at the surface level, and you see changes. You see, say, an increase in say good qualities, an increase in say like tolerance and freedom from anger, patience, kindness, compassion, because and intuitive intelligence, emotional intelligence, because as you develop the practice, calm the mind, increase one's focus and awareness, that you bring up the, what's the word? So the underlying, so the underlying principles, the deeper, more profound underlying principles within the mind, within the personality. So for the average person running around on the street, they may be quite a reasonable individual, but they're not going to develop at the same level as somebody who's like meditating on a daily basis. So why do we see this change? It's like you see a change over time, but why does it come about? So for the vast majority of people, we have we have these energies, we have these sort of like hindrances, for choice of better words, these energies which obstruct us and maybe create sort of mild problems and difficulty in our lives, and create friction between ourselves and other people, say on a surface or even intermediate level. And when one, over time, as one meditates and calms the mind, actually takes the edge off these hindrances, takes the edge off these defilements, and then the underlying nature, the underlying spiritual nature of the person starts to, what would you say? I wouldn't say blossom, might be too fluffy a word, but starts to sort of like rise up in the personality. So you see that, you see the sort of very say like wholesome, pleasant qualities rising up in the mind that which may not have been so obvious previously. And so it's something that's pretty obvious to all of us, that people who practice, you get this sense, you get this, you get a feel that they are, they're good people. They're people of with an underlying moral basis, some integrity, potentially, of a person of good, say, personal characteristics. So as we sort of polish and smooth, so like a rough pebble, you start to polish and smooth off the, maybe I wouldn't say rough characteristics, but the surface characteristics of the personality. You see like a refinement of the person. So if you get somebody who's been practicing, say, at least 5 years, it's something which is very, very obvious. They're not the run-of-the-mill person. They're a person who has what would you call it? So like a real underlying sense of like integrity, and the quality of the nature is quite clear to see. And so as we, over time, as we sort of, as we work on the practice and developing insight, and we're refining the qualities and the personality, developing our sense of wisdom. So what is the end goal? What is the purpose of all years and years of practice on a daily basis? What are we actually aiming for? So for as over time, as people keep working on the practice, they keep developing their underlying skills to the best of their ability. And once the meditation practice goes very, very deep and very profound over time, you've got to maintain that level for even in the old days of the forest tradition, say minimum of really 5 years. Even the people who had very, very deep samadhi and insight that they would, these kind of people would do nothing less than say 10 hours, 12 hours a day for 5 years at a stretch to break through to the enlightenment stages, and that's a person who's really putting in maximum effort. They're not holding back with their energy whatsoever. But the thing is that with all of us, people have to move at their own pace. Everyone has a certain quality of lifestyle and personal characteristics, and so people just do what they can on a day-to-day basis. But a key principle is say consistency. You've got to keep the practice rolling. So instead of just doing maybe one, say coming to Nolamara maybe once a week, you might be quite busy, but you can come to Nolamara once a week. You're better off just even like meditating at home for 5 minutes a day. You'll actually, instead of once a week, you actually get further doing 5 minutes a day, because you've got the consistency. You're not losing any ground as you develop over time. And because on an ultimate level, that human beings don't really have any choice. The vast majority of us have an awareness that enlightenment exists, and some of us have very, very firm belief in that. And the bottom line is that nobody really has any choice in the matter. You have to go this way, whether you like it or not, because every single one of us is essentially bound within this process of karma and rebirth, and we will not be free from that until we actually break through and realize the Buddhist teachings on its deepest level. So let's see now, what can we do today? All right, what we'll do is do a compassion meditation, and that'll help sort of increase the positive energy and the self-care, and help to increase energy for the samadhi practice to settle the mind. So I want you to look at some area of your life where it could be a little bit tricky, a bit difficult. You could be facing some challenges in life, and the core formula for the compassion practice is, may I be free from a particular affliction. So, say for example, if I've got someone who has very, very sort of like really strong hate and anger, I could say, may I be free from hate and anger. So everyone can choose their area that they're working with, but the whole principle of this is to essentially infuse your consciousness with this. It's almost like a loving, caring support. It's like a nurturing support, that you wish to be free from pain, free from sorrow, free from suffering in this life as a human being. And naturally, that you only really need to do compassion and metta and even sympathy. Sympathetic joy you usually do with a second person, because it's you're rejoicing in the goodness, the prosperity of others. But because you're the key person and your world comes from you, through your mind. You really only need to do metta and loving say metta and compassion for oneself as a basis. So if you just get yourself in a comfortable position with your back straight, head upright and comfortable, and make sure there's nothing tight around the wrist, the waist, and maybe it might be a good idea so you can really get a feel for it. We'll do it for 5 minutes, very, very relaxed, but continuously. So you choose the area. It could be a painful feeling, could be a painful experience, it could be a difficult person. May I be free from that particular affliction, emotion, person, or circumstances in my life, and just do it continually. We'll do it for a maximum of 5 minutes, but I just really want you to feel this. It'll only take about, so you'll see it in 60 seconds, but I really want you to see this. And before we go to the breath meditation, so just close your eyes and just repeat those words, just very, very slowly, very relaxed, for the next 5 minutes. want you to start the breathing meditation, and just as an intermediate exercise, just focusing on the abdomen, and that'll help sort of raise some energy, because you've got the Tantian just below the belly button, and it's a little bit, makes the meditation a little bit more energizing. So just focus on the rise and fall of the abdomen, say for about 10 minutes, and then we'll focus on a sharper point for the rest of the session. So just focus on the feeling, the sensation of the rise and fall of the abdomen. find that your attention is wandering or you're a little bit distracted, just breathe more forcibly into the abdomen and increase the sensations in that area for you to focus on. So if you're still thinking excessively, you need to move across to insight and understand exactly why you are thinking about the things you are. Like, I mean, if you're thinking about a friend or a circumstance or maybe work, the more you understand what's involved with these things, if you understand these things, like from a 360-degree perspective, then you will see once the mind understands, and it will let go and it will become more peaceful. That's the purpose of insight, is to release things, is to let go of excessive thinking and problems and difficulties and proliferation, attachment in the mind. Samadhi is not enough. Samadhi gives you initial calm, peace, degree maybe of joy, happiness, but you've got to use the second half of the practice. You have to use insight to release, unlock, and unravel obstacles in the practice. The samadhi suppresses and tranquilizes and holds things down, but wisdom understands and releases. So you need to understand why you're thinking excessively. Thinking of this and that. Once you understand that, then you can release it in time. So if anyone's like quite sleepy or drowsy, just make sure you breathe deeply, just slow, deep breaths, and maximize the oxygen supply, which is reaching your brain. So we'll narrow the focus down. So I want you to move your attention from your abdomen to the feelings around the mouth. So using a much more sharper focus, but you can feel the breathing on the periphery. So just focus around the mouth, the lips, and pay attention to the feelings in that area, and you'll feel the breathing, the sensation of breathing on the periphery. So we're coming towards the end of the session, so just see if you see any change in the peacefulness of the mind. I'll ring the gong 3 times so you can open your eyes when you're ready. Did anybody have any questions on the meditation at all? So from North Carolina, how can lay people go into deep meditative states when we are only meditating a half hour, an hour each day due to busy daily lives? So we're just very, very fortunate here in Perth. We've got the Jhana Grove meditation facility. So, North Carolina, you possibly might have some kind of retreat facility, maybe a monastery, meditation centre, not far from you. And naturally, people are busy working for a living. So, if you can possibly even even take maybe like a week off work, or even maybe say at least 7 days, possibly even 10. For some kind of retreat schedule where you can get some momentum, like it's good to practice each day. It certainly makes a difference. You can see it, but if you really want to have the time and the energy to go into deep states, you've really got to, say, do a retreat. 7 days is fairly solid. Sometimes 10 days, 9-10 days, if you're able to. But that would be definitely the way I would go. And also, in addition that, you can do this just very light background samadhi, this one mantra per minute that I recommend to people. It's very, very light. You just use any particular mantra that you like. It could be short or long. It could be anything. It could Om Mani Padme Hum. Could be Bhutto, or could be Samma Arahang. Just one mantra, once every minute, and you just do it all your waking hours. 16, 17 hours a day. It's incredibly light, but it's effective. And you'll see it. You do this for a couple of days, you'll see that samadhi. So from Maryland, USA, what should you do when you are feeling depressed, unmotivated, and don't want to meditate or do anything other than lay in bed all day? So if I put myself in your shoes, feeling depressed, unmotivated, you don't want to meditate, don't want to do anything, and lay in bed, I would ask yourself, why do you feel the way you do? It's all, especially with the meditation practice, it can increase, say, intuition and awareness and sensitivity. But you've really got to understand why you feel the way you do. How can you be free from possibly, say, like maybe a difficulty, some kind of problem or condition? How can you be free from that if you really don't understand yourself emotionally and what you're going through? Samadhi practice is all very nice, and it can get you a degree of peace, tranquility, ease, and contentment. But that's only half the business. You have to practice insight in order to release yourself from even, say, like, this could even come from past karma. It could be in the present life with it could be things like even like a divorce, or even it could be even like a chemical imbalance in the brains. But you ask yourself, if you're feeling depressed, why do you feel that way? Just don't go with the feeling. Don't get lost in the feeling. Ask yourself. And focus on that feeling tone. Don't sort of just watch it. And what is it like to feel depressed? And watch that feeling and question it. How does this feel in my body and mind? And when do I get depressed, and why and how, and how frequently? Really try to understand it as a mental state. Some people think that this kind of stuff will stay with you for 5-10 years, but the reason, like I'm not professionally trained, but if people feel depressed, but they have they don't actually really go into it and try to understand what you're going through. How can you be free from something that you just have no comprehension of? I mean, this is why we have psychologists and therapists, people in this category who are trained to help people work with and release this kind of problems. But one of the key principles with psychologists and therapists in any category is they help you to develop insight into the problem or difficulty you have, and that's where you start to see some success in treatment. There was that big what do they call it? Big seminar many years ago in the US, and where all the different traditions and different practitioners came together at a major convention, and one of the major principles which came up with the success of treatments, therapies and practice was the level of insight that they could actually raise in their patients and clients. That was the sticking point which separated people who had success in treatment and people who were still affected 5, 10, 15 years later. And you can, so for example, also in addition, unmotivated, so you go through each of these mental states. Why am I unmotivated? Why don't I want to do anything at all? Why I don't care about if I get anywhere in life or where I'm going and whatnot. Go into this stuff. Go into these. Take one feeling. It's all emotionally. Your thoughts affect your feelings, which affect your thoughts. But the major problem here, it's not the feeling is the core issue. You really need to go into that and really understand it quite deeply, and sort of try to understand everything about it. But with your daily experience, what small things can I do to improve my situation? So, I'm lying in bed all day. I'm not motivated. I don't want to do nothing whatsoever. I just want to escape and hide and lay in bed, for whatever, 16 hours a day or more. But what little things can I do just to exert some energy? How can I improve my situation? Maybe I can get up instead of sleeping, 16, 18 hours a day. Maybe I can drop it down. Maybe I can get up, at 16 and maybe sit in a chair and even things like watching television or just get out of bed and do something different. Change the pattern. Just don't roll with the feeling and completely be snowballed by these emotions. It's very, very easy for me to say these things, but each person has to experiment and see what actually what actually works for them. And say, for example, you feel like you don't want to meditate at all. You can still you can still meditate in very, very subtle ways. You can just watch thinking. You can watch the way you think and your views and opinions, and the way you look at yourself, the way you look at your life. You feel unmotivated. Just watch that thought process, watch those feelings, and look at the patterns, and look how it's connected with memories and people, and try to gain, just watch it in a very passive way and try to gain an understanding of what's happening there. And so, people can sort of make, people in these circumstances can make very, very, maybe just very small, workable goals, just little things, just to change that routine, to change that habit. Especially if you've got a nice, nice comfy bed. Some people may want to sleep 10 or 12 hours a day, but, they haven't got that kind of time to waste because they're busy people. Families, work, mortgages, all the rest. So, how can you, what can you make some kind of positive change? Can you get online and really zero in, whatever you're going through, zero in and get online support and advice. You've got trained professionals there who know a lot more about this stuff than I do on a therapeutic level. So, get very, very clear, sharp advice on self-help sites and forums, specifically with these areas, and experiment with different tools, and and see what actually works for you. And another one is for people who get overwhelmed by negative feelings. It's good to do metta and compassion for oneself, and just do it for if you're not crazy about this kind of practice, but just do it for 60 minutes. Just do it, and feel it out, because you're changing the actual feeling tone in the mind. So if I have a problem with depression, and put the loving kindness and the compassion to a test. Radiate loving kindness for oneself for 60 seconds, maybe for 2 minutes, and see if you actually see a change in the feeling tone, and then use metta, and then use compassion, and then go back to metta and compassion. And if you see the slightest change, then you can see that it's working for you. You're seeing a change in the state. If I got emotional stuff or some emotional difficulty, you can formulate mantras to basically balance and counteract the negative emotion which is obstructing you. So if I have problems with depression, lack of energy, I'm unmotivated, you can do simple things like, may I be free from depression. It could be lethargy and lack of motivation. So you zero right in on the emotional state, and you generate a supporting emotion which will basically help to balance out and stabilize, potentially stabilize the negative state. So you deliberately generate a positive state to bring the negative state into a sense of balance. So all these, there's quite a number of tools which are available. Those two, the metta and compassion, is very easy, but it can be you can get good results very, very quickly, because you're working exactly where the problem is. You're working on an emotional. The problems. It's not what you're thinking, how much you think, or what you're thinking so much. It's the emotional tone which is really the painful aspect of your experience. That's what tends to make life difficult for some people. Okay, from Ottawa, Canada. The idea being that the breath is enough, a luxury even. Well, you can have that kind of perception. You may feel that the breathing. You might feel quite content, quite peaceful, quite satisfied with the practice. I mean, I do supplementary practice. I never do the breath alone. I tend to sort of give it a little bit more oomph with different perceptions and all sorts of different things you can do. But it all depends who you are, because some people are quite happy with the breath, some people are not. Some people like to do different kinds of meditation practice. So each individual will see what works for them. So as you develop your practice, you work with different skills. You see what's effective and what's not, or what needs to be, say, adjusted over time. Okay, so we'll finish up if everyone's okay.